Folks, welcome into a new sub-series launching as part of the Suits in the Stadium podcast. We are calling this sub-series Thoughts on a Thursday. For those of you watching on the YouTube channel, you can see I've got a few of my friends. For those of you listening, you will in a second hear from my friends as well, since you cannot see them. And really the desire behind this sub-series of the podcast is really to hear from the people that are currently in it. All four of us in this group, in this podcast, are currently enrolled in master's programs in sport management. Obviously love the amazing guests I get to have on the podcast, but realize why not get some friends together? We're all pursuing the same goal and same dreams. Hear from them, what they're going through, the things they're battling through, and how they've overcome them. So really quick, before we get started, I'll let each one of them introduce themselves. I'll start with Jenn. Work our way through. If you could share where you're from, where you got your undergrad, and then currently what you're studying and where you're studying.
Yeah, so I'm Jenn Hernandez. I got my undergrad at University of Central Florida in kinesiology and exercise science. I am here from LA, and then I came back in 2020 and I'm pursuing currently my master's in sports business management at Cal State Long Beach. Set to graduate in December coming up, so excited.
I guess I'll take it next. Chris Hollis, Pasadena, California. Went to undergrad at Azusa Pacific University, competed in football and track, and I got my undergrad degree in sociology, modern communications. Currently doing sports management graduate program at University of San Francisco. Yeah, excited to be here.
Yes, and I'm Keashawn Hyde. I'm born and raised in South Los Angeles. I went to USF in San Francisco for my undergrad with business administration. And I was a student athlete as well, walk on with soccer and track. And now I'm pursuing my sport management master's at USF in the Orange County campus. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to great things and I'm excited to be here as well. Let's do it.
Love it. Love it. Kasey Coleman, originally from San Luis Obispo, California, got my undergrad at Liberty University in psychology and Christian counseling, and now currently, along with Jenn, getting my master's in sport management from Long Beach State, set to graduate here in December. So really quick, how this podcast will work, every week we'll have a different topic. We'll just throw out the topic, and then we'll just kind of have conversation about it. Insight, advice, things that work, things that didn't work, stuff like that. This week's topic, since we're launching and kicking off the new sub-series of the podcast, is going to be the idea of higher education. Why did you choose higher education? Was it the right choice? What were you hoping to get out of it? What are your dreams, goals, ambitions, kind of things like that? So whoever wants to jump in first, would love to hear your thoughts on higher education for yourself.
I guess I'll take it, huh? All right. Man, my thoughts on higher education, really just why I jumped in and really wanted to pursue a master's is I just knew I had to take that next step. And I'm currently having a job at Pasadena City College where I'm an athletic coordinator. Like working closely with my athletic director, people in the department, they all have master's degrees, and they're making a good amount of money. Doing something that they love to do, and I currently love my job, but I definitely want to take those next steps to propel myself. So I just know I had to get a master's. Didn't always think that it would be beneficial for me, but being in the program at USF, I could tell that it is beneficial from all the internships, the connections. I mean, that's how I'm on this podcast through me and Kasey at the USC internship. So I definitely see the benefits of being in higher education, getting a master's degree, and then just all the benefits that come along with the program, like USF. It's hands down, I feel like a great program. But like I said, we don't know if it's going to be, to be honest, if it's going to really pan out the way I plan it to be, because I'm trying to get to that 6 figures mark. So, I think it's at the end of the day, it's going to be on me though, to see how much hustle, I put in and, and how hard I work and, how I utilize all the connections that's in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, my background, my route in education is a little unconventional. I was jumped into healthcare like at an early age and just slowly worked my way up into like better positions for myself. But then once I figured out the route I wanted to go, like for my own career, it wasn't healthcare. And like I knew I wanted, to pursue sports at some capacity. And then just like because I was so indulged in healthcare, working with executives and physicians and stuff like that. I mean, anyone in leadership roles, obviously they went through tons of education and higher education and PhDs, doctorates and things like that. And I just think it's important like to have it, even though it is a piece of paper. And, in this day and age, I feel like you see people that are leaders and in those roles and they may not have even went like on to higher education, but as far as like is it worth it, I definitely think it is, just because one, I mean, you are going to be like that master in your craft, like no pun intended. It's like you're getting more knowledge and just like meeting new people, yeah, but you're just learning more about the different subjects and topics that like you're trying to be involved with. So I would definitely say that it's only going to benefit you, especially like if you see yourself progressing like in your career.
Yeah. And for me, I would say that my journey started, when I was like a kid playing sports. I played a lot of soccer, played a lot of basketball too. And also in my family, everyone, they played some type of sport. And, they're all from Belize and stuff like that. So, um, you know, the programs in Belize, like they could still use some development, I would say. But they have come a long way, from like what I've witnessed, throughout the years. And that's where a lot of my inspiration came from, because I like to give back. But then at the same time, like as an undergrad, I just had to really think to myself, what I really wanted to do. And it came back to sports, like when I was an undergrad, I wanted to play soccer. My passion was to try and make it pro, but it didn't necessarily go that way. But I was still able to, advocate for myself, and I made it as a walk on, which was like a great experience, and I'm glad I did it, and although it didn't work out in the end, there were still some great, faculty, there were still some great trainers that really like made my experience a lot more worthwhile, and I would forever remember that, and it's actually ironic because yesterday I attended a soccer game at LA Galaxy, and I seen one of the trainers that was there when I was playing soccer at USF, and just kind of a ironic moment, because she was like one of the biggest reasons that I I wanted to jump into sports. But yeah, like biggest thing, is just remembering, what I love to do. I also love to help people, and I think sports is like a great way of doing that. And just like what Chris said as well, like he noticed like he needed that masters to get ahead, to make like a bigger impact. And I kind of seen, this USF program and just sport management as a whole, like there's a lot of routes and a lot of opportunities to make an impact in some way, so yeah, I'm definitely glad that I chose it, and looking forward to see if it is worth it in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, for me as well, just kind of along the lines with Jen, just having kind of that unconventional route to the sport management space. As I mentioned in the beginning, my undergrad is not sports related. None of my previous work experience was sports related either. Pursued a lot of different things, primarily in the hospitality, in the customer service, in the behavioral health, with my undergrad degree in psychology, and just kind of felt that none of those things are really as fulfilling as I wanted them to be, and really realized that sports was where I wanted to be. But to break into sports, realized I had a lot to learn. Yes, there are transferable skills. I do talk about it with my guests on the main podcast about how do we transfer those skills that are maybe unsports related into the sport management space. There's a lot of great skills you can transfer, but I, for myself at least, realized there's some things I got to learn. There's a lot of things I don't know. And so applied to the program, got in, as we mentioned already, and it's been a great journey so far, and definitely feel more prepared now, 12, 13 months into the program than I did the start of the program, to really launch into the sport management space.
On that note too, Kasey, it's like, it's so funny because my mom the other day was like, wait, what's your degree in again? And I'm like, Mom, it's sports management. Like, and it's like, now that I'm in it, I didn't even know like a master's in sports management was even like a thing. I was gonna do like the DPT route and like try to get my doctorate in physical therapy. Just gonna be a long road ahead. I didn't know like if I was set up for that, but I was like, how can I pivot and still, pursue sports, but in a different world? And so then I found the program at Cal State Long Beach. And yeah, I mean, but it's just so funny how people don't even know, like, some people that aren't necessarily in the sports world know that like we're basically essentially getting an MBA, but just like sports focused, and there's so many different, just like being in school where, the most common question is like, well, what are you going to do? Or like, where do you see yourself? Like that answer has changed so much, like from the beginning to now, like, being in the program for 12 months or like a little bit over. So it's just like, yeah, I think it's a world that some may not know, but obviously those that are aware, like it's very important, to get that higher education in this space, just because, like you said, Kasey, like there's so much to learn.
Yeah, I agree, Jen. I actually was looking at, before I like learned about sports management, I really was looking at an MBA or MPA, which is like Master of Public Administration or Master of Business Administration, and I was leaning towards the MPA because the MBA was like you got to do all these, the GRE, you had to do the, I was trying to go through like the it was called like MLT, and it was like a program you get prepped to go into like a high MBA program like Wharton or like Ross School of Business at Michigan. And I had a few friends that that did that route, but I was like, man, that's too much for me right now. And then when I looked at the sports management, it was just like, it was essentially like combining two things I like, was sports and business. So I was like, this is perfect. And then I don't got to do a GRE. It's just write a little. I was like, man, I'm all in. So yeah, I feel you, Jen, for sure.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I was super into business too. That's what I got my undergrad in. And I was actually stuck on going into like venture capitalist type of stuff, finance. I liked, just that whole scenery of like, entrepreneurs and hearing, where they're coming from. I just felt like it had a lot of fire. But I guess as I kind of learned more about sport management, I seen that there's a lot of fire in that too. And also with the NIL market, I think that's like a real creative subject to even talk about. There's a lot of new things that could come out of that, and a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurship in all sorts of ways. So that's one of my biggest things that I like about sport management, and also, like what Jen did before this master's degree, like with trainers and with health and everything. That's like a huge part of it, although it's not necessarily, in the sport, but that's a huge part of the athletes, daily lives, and such.
Yeah, I really quick want to go back to something Chris said, and then I'll turn it into a question just as we wind down episode 1. But Chris, you mentioned just kind of when you were talking about the program and was it worth it, and you talked about, jokingly, I don't know if it's worth it. And I've had a conversation recently as well with some people about, at the end of the day, right, we're all going to get the same piece of paper. It's really a matter of whether or not we took advantage of the opportunities, right? Whether those internships, whether it's those guest speakers we have in class, whether it's some conference we went to or some panel we were a part of or whatever. With that, someone that's interested in potentially pursuing a master's program, knowing it's going to take a lot of work on their part, knowing, could it be a walk in the park? Sure. If you're just there to get your master's degree and have the title on your resume, sure. There's those people. there's also people out there that are trying to grind and make connections and build those connections and things like that. If you had someone that came to you, was interested in potentially pursuing higher education, what would be your advice to them? Would you say yeah? Would you say no? Would you have some, cautions, or hey, make sure this is right? Curious each of your thoughts on advice you would give to people considering master's program.
Definitely. I would definitely say go for it. I think in my opinion, it can only help you, right? It's only going to be something positive in a sense, right? Because you're gonna even if you just do a master's program to check that box off and you get the degree, and it gives you access to higher level jobs and career positions. Um, but also, I mean, if you take that route, being in the workplace that I'm at today, like I see the people that just took that route where they just check the box off. Like it shows up in your daily work, how you approach things and everything like that. And it's people in high level positions that don't know certain things about marketing or, about fundraising. That's an athletic director. And that's like, those are two key aspects of being an athletic director. So if you don't know that, you're not gonna be successful at your job. You may end up getting fired. But going back to the question of really, just impressing upon anybody that's looking to get a master's, yeah, I would just really say go for it because of the connections, the benefits that I'm getting, and just also the professional development too. In like our first class, like it was just straight professional development and just connections and like building relationships, which I think goes a long way in this industry. It's all about who you know and who knows you, I feel like, and being able to capitalize on that. And if you're able to capitalize on that and you have the knowledge of whatever field that you go in within the sports industry, if you have the knowledge and you're a hard worker, I feel like you're gonna be successful. So it can only benefit you, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely.
Yeah, Chris, I think that's such a good point as far as like, you see people in those higher level positions and they did pursue higher education, but at the same time, they're just like, not keeping up to date, current information, or they just don't know like everything. So, I mean, my only caution would be like, be a little bit more strategic, like when when you choose to pursue higher education in the sense of like what it's going to be. Because like undergrad, everyone knows, like, as we all hear, like, you can have an undergrad in anything and then like go a completely different route. So like I would just say that, like, for me anyway, if you are considering like, higher education and like getting your master's degree or whatever it may be, I just think to be more like focused on like what it is that the route you're going, that it relates to like what you really want to do once you get to that point. That would be my only cautionary thing. But as far as like, should you do it, I definitely think like, well, yes. Point blank, you need to. So
And to add to that, Jen, I definitely agree. I do think that, like when considering for your masters, you should definitely want to be sure in the end that this is what you really want to do. And, like say for me, for this sport management degree, I definitely thought it through for a very long time. Although I started maybe like less than a year from finishing my undergrad. But I thought it through. I was, like I said, I was interested in like entrepreneurship, like with venture capitalists and finance, and like working for a firm. And yeah, like I had to steer away from that, and I really thought through with the sport management. But at the same time, like I would say to go for the masters, if you're like serious, about your professional development, like if this is something that you think about like all the time, and like, oh, you just want to get ahead in your career, then do the research and go for it. I think the best investment is in yourself. And I think a master's degree will really prepare you to be like a professional for the field that you really want to do. And that's also with networking, you're going to meet a lot of professionals. And it's going to inspire you, and just also open your mind, and open your like your opportunities to just a lot more, and in the end it's just going to build confidence. And I think the confidence, like the master's degree, adds is a big thing.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Y'all hit all the nails on the head for sure. I think the one thing that came to mind, and just another way of saying what everyone else has said, but you get out of it what you put into it. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, there's there's some people that will get the degree that didn't put the effort in, and as Chris said, they check the box, and there's some people that take advantage. And that's up to you. That's up to you what person you want to be. Do you want to be the person that skates through, or do you want to be the person that takes full advantage, speakers, internships, all those different opportunities that are provided for us, whether you're at Long Beach, whether you're at USF, whether you're at any other program in the country as well. But anyways, that wraps up season 1. Jenn, Keashawn, Chris, thanks for being a part, and we will see you guys in the next episode.